Proudly presented by Pence Homes and part of the Hitting the Hardwood podcast network. This is Lynx Happy Hour. Hello! What is up, Lynx fans? Welcome to another episode of Lynx Happy Hour, the podcast where Lynx basketball is always on special. A real fun show for y'all today. Unfortunately, no Hall of Famers on the episode today, but I got the next best thing. A Hall of Fame friend, colleague, and beat writer Andrew Dukowitz from Minnesota Zone Coverage joins me to chat about all kinds of things. Yes, and thank you once again to Simone Augustus for joining me last week. I encourage you to go back and listen to that show or that episode with Simone. She's always a blast to talk to and to hear from. And her celebration that followed meeting with me was an incredible day at Target Center for a variety of reasons. Really grateful to have been a part of that and get the chance to chat with Simone Augustus, basketball immortality, the Bayou's favorite. But on this episode, we chat about the Lynx clinching a spot in the Commissioner's Cup final, the Diamond Miller game that we will always remember. The Lynx have their first East Coast road trip of this season upcoming, which feels weird. We're coming close to the end of June, which feels crazy in itself. And most of the trips have been out west, and they've only had one game against an Eastern Conference team. That great comeback against the Connecticut Sun back in mid-May. It was like the third game of the season. So the fourth game of the season, rather. And yeah, a lot of exciting things coming up. And Andrew and I get into all of it. Something we were not able to discuss is the status of Napheesa Collier for tomorrow's game against the Los Angeles Sparks. I am recording this intro to the show a little bit after 2:30 on Friday, June 20th. Andrew and I were talking earlier this morning before we went to the facility for practice. And I don't think Fee has gone much in either yesterday's practice or today's. We did get to attend the practice with the Junior Lynx Dream Team in partnership with Special Olympics Minnesota yesterday. Fee was on the floor with the kids playing ball, going through the drills, and was moving around quite well. And then today at practice, Cheryl told us that there hasn't been, any kind of official status update. I'm sure we'll get the kind of probable or doubtful or whatever it is designation sometime this evening is usually par for the course. And confirmed that it is a bulging disc that Fee has been dealing with for a number of years. And so it sounds more like it was a pain situation, and speculated that if this had been a finals game or a close game, closer, I guess it was close at the time the injury occurred, but a situation where you think you couldn't win without Fee, then there'd be a possibility to go, even though it does sound quite painful. So I'm expecting Fee to play against the Sparks. Don't quote me on that. I just think it's going to happen, and that it's not anything to be terribly concerned about, but we will of course keep an eye on it. And we've got a shoot around tomorrow. With it being a 7:00 game, there will be a shoot around, so I will be there. And keeping an eye out, and we'll keep an eye out for the status update as well. Anyway, that's quite enough from me for now. Let's get into my conversation with Andrew Dukowitz. This episode of Lynx Happy Hour is brought to you by Pence Homes. The team at Pence Homes has experience working with first-time home buyers, folks selling their first home and buying their next place, to people looking to downsize. With the best tools, technology, and trusted vendors to help with any home project, Pence Homes is a top choice for buyers and sellers. For more info and to set up a time to meet with Nate and the team to talk about your home buying or selling needs, visit pencehomes.com. That is Pence, PENTZHOMES.com. Once again, back on Lynx Happy Hour, my friend and colleague on the beach, Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage. You can follow him at ADukeMN across platforms and find all of his work at Zone Coverage Minnesota, which covers every team here in Minnesota and also the Green Bay Packers for some damn reason. I've got a bone to pick with zone coverage on that, but everything else, it's a wonderful place to get great coverage, including Andrew's. Andrew, thank you for taking some time with me this Friday morning. How are you, my dude?
You know, you brought it up to me earlier this week that Green Bay is higher on the list than the Lynx
That's the real problem. If the Packers were just in the timeout corner, I'd be okay with it. But it's the four men's teams listed, then the Green Bay Packers, and then the Minnesota Lynx. What the hell, guys? Come on.
It's tough. It's not even like Vikings, Packers, Twins, Wild, Wolves, Lynx. It's all four of them, then Green Bay, then the Lynx. And even in the drop down, it's all four, then Green Bay, then the Lynx.
I don't like it.
I mean, I don't know what's
I don't
going
like
on
it.
over at my company here.
I don't like it. But other than that, I do. I like everything else. So we've had a very exciting week, weeks of the season. The other night, the Lynx wrapped up Commissioner's Cup play with punching their ticket to the final, which they will host against a upstart island of misfit toys from Indianapolis called the Indiana Fever. We'll look into their roster and see if they have any players of note in the coming weeks. As of right now, I haven't heard anything, but that'll be a fun game. We'll talk about that. But there's games to be played before then, including this Saturday, a kind of a rubber match against the Sparks, who they hosted last Saturday. And then finally their first trip out east of the season, where they get the Mystics in DC and the Dream in Atlanta. First things first, though, Tuesday night in a bit of a roller coaster win against the Aces, a game that I recapped simply as weird as shit, fun as shit. So in few words, lots of headlines from that night, but the one we do need to talk about is Napheesa Collier leaving early with that lower back injury. Fee did not return. She was ruled out fairly quickly by like the end of the third quarter or so. No indication on if that was something that there's no way she could play through, or if the Lynx felt we can get this one across the finish line without Napheesa. Then they had an off day the day after that. Yesterday, they did practice, and we were there. It was also the Junior Lynx Dream Team Day, which is a wonderful annual event where a bunch of young athletes sign honorary one-day contracts with the Lynx and get to go practice with the players. And that was the portion of practice we got to see. It was after the Lynx concluded their practice, their regularly scheduled programming practice, if you will. He was out there. He was in some practice attire, but clearly hadn't gone through full practice, and was also wearing low top Jordan 1s, which is not what you practice in early. But she did. She went through everything with the Junior Lynx Dream Team that everyone else did. Courtney Williams was playing like it was, as hard, like this was a playoff game, rebounding and passing it back to her kid, and throwing some bows out there. It's always a fun event, and Fee looked great, chasing those kids around and going through those drills. So that's what we have to go off of right now. We talked to Eric Tebow, who said, it's something that she maybe, has dealt with before, but looked good. And having an extra couple days between their next game, I have a hunch she plays on Saturday, but just sort of, what do you think of from seeing the injury on Tuesday and her chances to play on Saturday?
I mean, the injury looked like it was just, unfortunately, when you twist your back sometimes and you're getting into your late 20s and early 30s, it just doesn't want to cooperate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what it looked like. She got pushed in the back going for a rebound, drew a foul, and then kind of hobbled off the court looking like a stiff back. I mean, she looked fine yesterday. Like, she was
Yeah,
walking around fine. When she was jogging a little bit, she looked fine. I I could see them resting her against the Sparks just because Fee plays 38 minutes a game, and like you don't get a lot of if she rests against the Sparks, she gets basically a week off. Like,
sure.
Sparks aren't a great team. Kelsey
Yeah,
Plum may or may not be playing. I mean, it would be a good game to rest her against, but having covered Fee closely for 2 years, it might be more of a Fee like, hey, I'm playing, I'm good to
yeah.
go, and Cheryl just being like, yeah, all right. Back on the Junior Lynx Dream Team though, uh, Bridget Carlton was matched up against Courtney Williams and their Junior Lynx players, and the first missed shot, Courtney like rebounded that ball like it was game 5 of the finals. Like,
Hmm.
she shot an elbow into Bridget, rose up, got the rebound, kicked it back out to her kid. And like you could just see the surprise in Bridget's face of like, wait, what are we doing? And it's just that's Courtney. Then Bridget
Right,
ends up scoring on that possession, and Courtney's like, she cheated. I didn't know we could score. Like, I
right.
would have scored that ball a long time ago. Ah, it was a really fun event. The full transparency on a Lynx pod, the Wolves actually do that event too, and it was just as wholesome and fun when the Wolves did it. It's very quickly becoming one of my favorite things to cover, just
Hmm.
because you see a different side of the players. Like, you see that Courtney really is amped all the time. You see that Diamond is just a really good person with kids.
Right,
It was a really cool event. Also,
right.
stand-up comedian Cheryl Reeve
You-
passing out contracts.
right.
I hope someday that entire thing gets put on YouTube from somebody, because man, Cheryl
Yeah.
Reeve has a second
I,
career if she wants it.
I was gonna say you get to see a different side of Coach too, introducing each kid one by one. She has a little bit of a bio on each of them, and to see how quick on her feet she is, though she, I think, got not flustered, but just was taken aback one time with the young kid. I won't use names on here because we have not gotten
Right.
that permission. It's obviously not last names, but just to err on the safe side. But this one young person who fosters rats, and Cheryl is just kind of like, oh, that's really cool. So that was funny. And yeah, a couple of kids who are pretty enthusiastic about basketball, and a couple kids who not so much. And so hopefully they were more enthusiastic about basketball by the end of the day. But yeah, it felt like Bridget opened up a different layer of Pandora's box when she shot the ball at one point, and Courtney was like, "Oh, we're allowed to shoot too." And then it's game on. And of course, we got to meet chat with BC Lan and K-Mac afterwards. And BC said, if Courtney rebounds like that on Saturday, we're going to be just fine. So maybe they don't need Fee at all. Just play Courtney at the 4. Um, yeah, that was a lot of fun, and getting to see everyone out there, especially Fee, and being like, okay, it looks like these kids aren't holding back. So seeing Fee out there, keeping up with everyone and not taking it slowly, I think is a good sign. This is, for context, we are talking right now. It is exactly 9:46 a.m. on Friday, June 20th. You and I will both be at the practice facility in a couple of hours, and we'll probably have more of an update on Fee. I may include that at the top of this episode. So you may have heard me say Fee's playing tomorrow, or Fee is not playing already. Podcast is just like time travel, essentially.
Yes.
What Fee's absence created on Tuesday night was more opportunity in a game that, again, I think is described perfectly as weird as shit, fun as shit. Not that Fee's
Mm-hmm.
injury was fun. And it was even before. So we talked a lot about Diamond Miller. I have my latest piece up on the next is on Diamond's game, and touches a little bit just on her struggles to kind of get back into the rotation. Diamond had kind of flipped the game's energy before Fee's injury. So it's not like Fee gets hurt, everyone's like clutching their pearls, what's going to happen. Things had been going well. Diamond was really the only one who did much in the first half. She's the only one who hit a 3 in the first half.
Mm-hmm.
But it really got fun in the third quarter when she had that great take to the hoop on Chelsea Gray, knocks Chelsea over without fouling her, and hits the point guard with the too small. And Chelsea Gray had been fantastic on defense, like to that
Yep.
point, and probably still was after that. And it was just one of those where I'm like, I was so happy she did that. And like, no one deserves to have fun with this more than Diamond Miller. The step back Hezi 3 over Kia Stokes was amazing. And then we saw probably the most vulnerable post game interview, certainly of this season, but maybe in my 3 years on the beat. So just Andrew, I feel like we'll be mentioning the Diamond Miller game for years to come here, and we'll be referring to this Tuesday night against an Asia Wilson-less Aces and a somewhat Nafisa Collier-less Lynx. But the game has to go on. Just what as you were seeing it in real time, how are you kind of parsing Diamond Miller having a huge impact on the floor at Targets, certainly at Target Center? She had a nice game in Dallas to start the year, but she hasn't gotten treated like the home fans like that in over a year, probably.
I mean, this is the best game I think since her rookie season. And I mean, I don't know if it's close, like in terms of impact, in terms of just she didn't turn the ball over. She was hitting threes. She was attacking the basket. She got fed off of like cuts and back cuts. She was guarding 94 feet, which that's something the Lynx don't have. Like Court can't guard people 94 feet. Neither can T. Bridget can at sometimes, but like also Bridget plays 40 minutes a game. Like you don't want her guarding.
You don't want them doing that, but
right. But like Diamond, during that game, it was kind of just the evolution of like, okay, like last season was my first year on the beat, and it was probably a bad season to have a behind the scenes look at Diamond Miller because she was injured almost the whole season. Bridget took her starting job, and it was kind of a lost season for Diamond. And kind of as the season went on last season, I was just kind of thinking like, oh gosh, is this just a trade chip now? Like Diamond's not going to get minutes on this team. And then in the offseason, Cheryl's saying, oh, we want Diamond to run the second unit. We have all these plans for Diamond. She's so good in transition. And it's still just so far this season been maybe she gets 4 minutes, maybe she gets 9 minutes. I think in that Dallas game you mentioned, she got like 14 or 16. It like not an impactful number, but tonight, or not tonight, on Saturday. What time is
what time is a flat circle? It was Tuesday night against the Aces.
Against the Aces, she hits that first 3, and you could just see the confidence that exuded from the first 3 that she hit, where she is running back yelling, and then she hits a cutting layup, and she's like yelling at Cheryl Reeve, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a thing. Picks up Chelsea Gray 94 feet, hits the too small over her like in the third quarter, hits another 3, and it's the first time this season that I've been like, okay, there's the vision for Diamond. It might not be 30 minutes a night, but if she can come in and play 14 minutes, guard her ass off, not turn the ball over, and just, even if she would have missed all of those shots, like they were all good attempts.
They're all good shots.
The step back 3, I joked with Eric at practice yesterday. I was like, is that like a no, yes type of thing for Diamond? And he's like, it's a bonus. That's the only one I would be like, maybe we don't do that every game, Diamond. But I mean, also you mentioned it at the top of just her emotional and vulnerability that she showed after the game was, you could just see how much that meant to her. That after everything she's been through, all of the work she's put in, that game meant probably more to her than any game she's played, short of her like debut, because it's the hard work paying off. And like, for the off chance that Diamond is listening to Lynx Happy Hour Friday evening before the next game, like, I appreciate that vulnerability so much, because I feel like in sports, even women's sports, there is such a like push to hide emotions like that. Like they want you to be fiery and competitive, but they don't want to see you cry or be emotional. I mean, I think of like Joel Embiid walking off the court crying after the Toronto buzzer beater by Kawhi, and he got trashed for it. I mean, even the video I put up of Diamond, people are saying like, this is, people shouldn't cry over this stuff. And it's like, yes, they
Yeah,
should. Like, if you were
exactly.
about to get fired and then you didn't get fired and you get to continue working the job you love, you
Yeah.
should cry about that. Like, that's a cool thing to cry about.
Right.
And I just applaud her for that vulnerability.
I mean, crying's cool as shit.
Yes.
That's gonna be the first Lynx Happy Hour T-shirt that we make. Is crying's cool. Listen to Lynx Happy Hour. Cry with your friends because crying's cool as shit. Yeah, I really appreciated that from Diamond, and that she didn't cry in her media day interview, but she was also very open and vulnerable about just like how hard this has been for her. And last year, Coach talked about it a lot, just how important both Diamond, Peely, and Olivia Apupa were during the playoffs, even in a non-playing role. And I noticed it, thinking about it before that, and then after that, it's like, yeah, you've never seen Diamond Miller do anything close to what could be described as a pout or complaining. And that's not something that happens with people who come in as a number 2 pick, get a ton of playing time their rookie year, and then that playing time all but like dwindles all but entirely. So I've always
The
felt
other thing I just want to add too, like Diamond, it's not just like in the Lynx facility. Like she lives in Minneapolis. I don't think it's a shocker that like Lynx players live in Minneapolis or athletes live in Minneapolis. So I don't think I'm breaking any news, but like I have a friend that lives nearby her and he goes on runs every morning, and like Diamond's out there like practicing at the local parks at the crack of dawn, like all
really.
alone. Like,
Mm,
this is someone that just has worked her ass off for this opportunity. And it's not even stuff that like the Lynx know. It's the like 6:30 in the morning just shooting free throws at the park, and some dude walks by and is like, "Is that Diamond Miller?" Like, this is someone that has put in so much work to get to that moment. And like, again, crying is cool. You said it
correct.
perfectly. That should be the first merch.
Absolutely. Well, and it's one of those things too where you're like, yeah, you can look at you can if you want to get into the weeds of the analytics, because analytics have not necessarily been kind to a player like Diamond. And the game itself was, it's 12 points, 2 rebounds, and assists to steal. And some people think, momentum and energy are just kind of made up things that just because you can't really quantify them. But the game going into halftime was gross. And even
Mhm.
a 9-point deficit's not the end of the world, but all of us, we get the chance, to chat at halftime. People are getting up and you're kind of walking by the rest of our colleagues seated in the media section, and everyone kind of said, "Is that the worst half you've seen them play this year?" And everyone was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is." And it would have been so much worse without that Diamond energy blitz. And T said after the game that I don't think we win this game without her. And that's not just like lip service. Like, I don't know what other card they had to play because everyone was playing like shit and struggling with Vegas's small ball lineup. I'll also add what I thought was cool: the slip layup that she got in the first half that I wrote in my piece left Tiffany Mitchell in the dust. Tiff was one of Diamond's vets her rookie year here
Yeah.
in Minnesota. So I saw that they had a moment where they were jawing at each other a little bit. I don't think that was anything more than just competition, but like that, I think that was symbolic in itself too. Like to get the chance to do that to one of your vets that helped you through your rookie year. Um, yeah, they don't win that game without her, and that means they don't go to the Commissioner's Cup final. And at some point through the course of the season, you're going to need everyone to have moments like this. And
Yep.
we will see if that translates into Diamond being a regular rotation player or not. I don't know that it for sure will. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic. There will be spots, like there will be Diamond spots where it opens up and is perfect for what she does well. And that's then up to Cheryl to put her in positions for success. And I don't think we've seen the last of games like this where Diamond, goes crazy in a spurt and flips the game on its head. And that's a pretty useful skill to have.
It also opens up the possibility of, when Jessica Shepard comes back, we have that possibility of a super big lineup where you have
Sure.
Fee at the 3, Lan at the 4, and Shep at the 5. Diamond kind of showed that she could rebound and could kind of muck things up inside and play the 4, which opens it up for a small ball lineup where you have Fee at the 5, Diamond at the 4, K-Mac and Bridget with Court or T. And I am someone who, when playoffs come, options are important because it's a chess game. In a 5-game, 7-game series, it is all about what can you do to throw the other team off. And it's something that I'll make a note of like, okay, Diamond held up in a small ball lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's something that now they can go to if they need more shooting or they need more speed and athleticism, where they can put that lineup out there. I agree with you. I don't know if this immediately translates to like Diamonds getting 20 minutes a game. It probably doesn't, but I do think that there are certain teams and certain matchups where if Diamond is willing to full court press for 6 minutes, if she's not turning the ball over, which again, 14 minutes, all the good things we talked about, she also didn't have a turnover, which
Right.
That is something. Like
Right.
Cheryl is, if there's one thing me and Cheryl have in common, it's that turnovers give us stomach ulcers, and Diamond didn't turn the ball over. And those are the trust things that when you're a young player, whether it's Peely, whether it's Diamond, whether it's Ola, if you're not turning the ball over and you're playing good defense, I
Right.
think there is a path for you to get minutes.
Right. She did the one blemish, because we are covering this fairly and comprehensively, was 3 fouls, but also a lot of that was by guarding Chelsea Gray, and Gray did get her a couple times on the up fake, got Diamond in the air, and just had to do, a little move to for sure draw the foul. But also defending 94 feet a couple of times, which she did, I was fine with each one of those fouls. And sometimes, it's a little bit frustrating when you have players who can't defend without fouling, and Diamond hasn't shown that she can do that super consistently. But also you can't just, look at, you got to look at each game like kind of as a case by case basis. And she was asked to do some pretty tough things on the defensive end of the floor, and she more than held up. And yeah, she's such an easy person to root for, has never one excuse. And yeah, I hope this translates. I have no idea. Like, let's just touch on the Sparks very briefly here, because we've got more to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But this game Saturday, we have Kelsey Plum might be hurt. Return of Grace Berger. A lot of fans wanted the Lynx to sign Grace Berger when they opened up a roster spot, and she's back in Target Center. Everybody, we all love Grace. It'll be great to see her. But it's the Sparks are generally a team that likes to get inside and go a little bit bigger, but they are so depleted that I don't really know what Sparks team we're getting. And but maybe there's some lineups and openings for Diamond to get out there again. And if things go well, it's the Lynx kind of put a full game together and you're winning by 20 at halftime, similar to what they were up by 20. They were up by 32 at the half against the Sparks last. Yeah, because it was
26-26
Fee was tied with the Sparks 26-26, and then Fee's teammates were kind enough to contribute 32 additional points. If you're up,
they were leading the Sparks, and Fee was tied with the Sparks.
Right.
It was not a great game for the Sparks.
No, but so if that's the script again, then you can play Diamond heavy minutes. You can play Diamond, you can play Peely, you can do a lot of stuff that you wouldn't normally always do. Now Masha's like we need Masha in like meaningful first quarter minutes, especially until Jess gets back from Eurobasket. But Masha's put on, a lot of reason to be on the court. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, next week we'll be talking like maybe Carly Samuelson goes for 30 on Saturday, and then just the embarrassment of riches that we were expecting, comes to fruition. But yeah, I'm not worried about tomorrow's game at all. It's more just kind of like this is going to be interesting because I don't know what to expect from a Sparks team that has just brought in Grace on a hardship, and we don't know who's if KP is going to play. Tough run so far for Lynn Roberts in her first professional stretch. It's been a shorthand for sure for her, but
it seems like it might be just kind of a pickup game where, I mean, 3 out of the 8 players that are going to be getting minutes for the Sparks aren't, didn't have a training camp with the Sparks.
Shea Petty, in my very talented colleague Cameron Ruby's latest piece, Shea Petty, who we remarked didn't have her name on the back of her jersey in that game. Shea landed in Minneapolis at 1 a.m. and then was playing at noon for a team she signed for. It was June 14th when that became official per across the timeline. And I hope she got a decent night of sleep in that, but also there wasn't time or materials to have Petty printed on the back of her jersey. So I imagine
my guess is she didn't know the game plan, and that might be a similar, and it is always kind of, I will say the Lynx, they almost need a bad loss too. I mean, I know the Seattle loss
that was a lot bad.
What's that?
That was a bad loss.
Yeah,
not because Seattle's bad, but they were
right
pissed about the way they played.
This Lynx team has had a tendency of not starting games with the best. And I don't like calling out players' energies, but if a player calls out the energy of the team, then I will say, like, Courtney says the energy has not been good. So when Courtney, Cheryl, Fee, Lan, and Bridget are all like, yeah,
we need
energy was bad in that one, we need to start better. I think the only way that gets fixed is by those losses to like the Storm, or a loss where they just are flat and a hungrier team takes it. So I don't think like a loss, especially against like LA, when you have like a 3-game lead over the conference early in the season, is the worst thing for this team. Because I do think they have one of those coming at some point this season, but I just don't see a path where LA can keep up. Even if Fee is not out there, it's just the talent disparity is going to be, it's going to be pretty glaring.
Yeah, especially if Fee plays. Yeah, I don't think a loss to the Sparks at home can really be flipped as useful in any way. I'm trying to be as respectful to the Los Angeles Sparks as possible. There isn't another way to frame it other than you hope that they learned the right things from it. But that's a pretty tough lesson. We're gonna talk about the upcoming road games first before we talk about the Commish Cup final, because this is interesting. This will be 13 games of the season. The Lynx have not gone east yet. They've hosted Connecticut. That's been their one Eastern Conference game. And then after this Saturday, they have their first sort of extended road trip, starting with a game with the Mystics in DC. And the Mystics are a tricky bunch. They're 5-7 and not as bad as I think a lot of people were sort of expecting them to be. I think the Valkyries are kind of taking all the surprise narratives, especially with that win they just had over the Fever. But then following that Mystics game is a game that I think a lot of people will be curious to see is at Atlanta, who are 4-1 at home. Carl Smesko, an early candidate for Coach of the Year honors. Uh, they're 8-4 overall. Brittany Griner, Brianna Jones, Ryan Howard's playing amazing, and of course Alicia Gray is having just a phenomenal year, and they'll pose some size advantages that they'll have over the Lynx. That's just an interesting team that could take advantage of the very few weaknesses the Lynx have. But how do you feel about that game in Atlanta? I think a lot of eyes will be on that one to see what transpires there.
I was hoping Asia would play in the Vegas game because I've been waiting for that measuring stick game, right? Where it's like the Lynx are good. We know they are a good team. They're 10-1. That's not by accident. You don't win. You don't go 10-1 because like your strength of schedule. Like it helps, but the Lynx are a good team.
Right.
But they haven't really played Atlanta, New York, full strength aces, like an equally like this is a team that we could see in the finals team. So I'm going to be watching this game pretty close just to see like, okay, Atlanta plays a pretty similar style. They're first in the league in 3-point attempts. They also have, a ridiculous assist percentage north of 70%. They steal the ball. Their on ball defense is good. They play inside out. They don't do a lot of mid-range stuff. Like they are a team that is built offensively to play like the Lynx, which it'll be interesting to see how the Lynx defense holds up against a team that kind of mirrors their own strength, where they launch a lot of threes and then they pound inside to open up more threes. The one thing I like the thing I'm concerned about is just how the Lynx come out in that game, because I think it's fair. We just touched on it with their slow starts. I think it's been kind of fair that when you're playing the Valkyries, maybe you're not starting the game the most motivated in the world. When you're playing Dallas, you're not starting every game like it's game 5 of the finals. Atlanta is a team that if they fall down by 15, they're probably not coming back and winning that one. So it'll be interesting to see how they start, because that's a game that I think everyone on this team will wake up for. I think Courtney's going to be aggressive from the start. I think Lan will be aggressive from the start. Bridget's going to be locked in. Other than that, to me, it's going to be that measuring stick of like, okay, how good is this team for real? Because if both teams are full strength and the Lynx win by 20, then it's going to be like, all right, this really is like a championship or bust season. They are that talented, which right now I think they're that talented, but I don't know if they're that talented.
Right. I think it's, like you said, a great measuring stick, especially after we saw what Seattle can do to them in a game where they don't defend the paint well enough. And I mean, last year in games against Brittany Griner, they did a good job on her. But she's also playing with Bree Jones, who I thought was pretty good in that semifinal series that the Lynx ultimately got the best of. But yeah, I think you put Lan on BG and Fee on Breezy, and you feel pretty good about it. But you're definitely you don't have the size advantage as they just won't have. Yeah, it'll be a game where they need to rebound well. You don't have to totally win the rebounding battle, but you can't get blown off the glass. And man, I just know I'm not looking up at the splits right now, but K-Mac has had some games in Atlanta shooting like she had like a 7 of 9 from 3 night in Atlanta. So if it's K-Mac in Atlanta as we've seen in the past, then they'll be in pretty good shape.
Ryan Howard is averaging 10.43 attempts a game.
Wow.
Like that's insane.
And we haven't seen them play like this. That's why, I mean, Carl Smesko is, I'm not gonna fill out my ballot before it's due, but that's where I'm looking. Obviously, Coach Reeve is in contention for that award as well, but the media doesn't like to reward coaches multiple years in a row, especially if you come in and they say you're one of the best teams and you're one of the best teams. It's like, okay, well, we thought that was going to happen. I think people thought of the Dream as kind of a dark horse, and
Yeah.
they're playing pretty damn well. That was a great game that they ultimately lost to the Liberty the other night on Tuesday, but they stood toe to toe. And had they won, we would be seeing the Lynx would be playing in Atlanta, and then a few days later would have been playing Atlanta again in the Commissioner's Cup final, which would have been funny. But as it stands, it's a quick trip out east to our nation's capital, and then the ATL. Then they come back after that and host the Connecticut Sun again, and then it's the Commissioner's Cup final against the Indiana Fever. I do know a few players on their team. I was kidding earlier. You may not have been able to tell. Caitlin Clark is back. The Fever punched their ticket by beating the Connecticut Sun in a game in which a lot of things happened. And it's going to be a pretty incredible atmosphere in Target Center on July 1st. This game has generally been a harbinger for a WNBA Finals preview, Andrew. So I got to start the $64,000 question. Will the Lynx and Fever meet again in the WNBA Finals, yes or no?
No. I don't see, to meet in the WNBA Finals, you got to go through the Liberty, right? Like,
yeah, Liberty. They'd have to go through the Liberty or the Lynx, as
right.
it's not
And
conference formatting.
I'm really high on the Liberty. Like, Natasha Cloud has been amazing for
You
that team.
you are the president of the Natasha Cloud fan club.
I just genuinely love how she plays. She is filling that role of like the facilitator in that on that team, like awesome. Her assist to turnover is phenomenal. Like, Sabrina has been awesome again. Stewie has been great. Like, that team is a juggernaut, just like the Lynx are a juggernaut. Like,
Yeah,
I think the high end star power for the Liberty is certainly higher than the Lynx, but like, those are the two teams I think that are clear and ahead, the best two teams in the W. And then there's, so like 1A, 1B, I think you skip the number 2 and then you go down to like 3 and you have like the Atlanta, Indiana, the Storm, the other teams. Now Indiana
could be the Valkyries now.
It could be the Valkyries. I mean, Kate Martin is just, who would have thought?
I certainly didn't. I'll admit I did not see this coming.
But I will say that the Fever, it's going to be another, it's going to be a good preview into, again, how good the Lynx are, because right now I think they are on a separate level than the Fever. But if the Fever come out in the Commissioner's Cup on the Lynx home floor, everyone knows there's money on the line. People usually play a little better when money's on the line. And if they come out and win by like 20, then it's like, okay, the Fever are probably deserve to be in that. Sure. I don't, and maybe it's just because I'm down a little bit more on them, but like, I just don't see them at that level. And it's, you know, who knows, maybe they will have, Bonner will be back at some point. She's been away from the team on personal reasons. Maybe that's the added lift that puts them up in that category. I mean, they have Boston, they have Natasha Howard, they have Cunningham, they have Lexi Hall. Caitlin Clark's been playing great since she's come back and has been playing great all season. I'm not breaking news there, hopefully, but it's just the Lynx, I think, have a little bit more star power and gas in the tank. Like, Kayla McBride and Courtney Williams, I think, are objectively probably the third and fourth best players in that, in a head-to-head matchup.
The Fever, where I don't think I need to eat crow yet, but as the Fever were adding people over the offseason and people were getting excited, I mean, I think Stephanie White is the biggest addition, and they did not have her during this last loss to the Valkyries in San Francisco because of a family matter as well. But I just didn't see it on defense. And while their defense has been better than I expected, at least from a team defense standpoint, Lexi Hall, who wasn't an addition, but is a great team defender, because I just kind of looked up and down and I'm like, who's locking up? Like, if it's a Kayla McBride is getting hot as the Sun game, who are you putting on Kayla McBride? Because it's not going to be Caitlin, and it's not Sophie Cunningham. I think Lexi Hall is the only one who really has a shot in that scenario, and the Lynx have plenty of moves to counter something like that. Caitlin can go all world in any game at any point, but I think what the Valks did, they had Kayla Thornton guarding her a lot of the time, and Kayla Thornton is a big reason why the Liberty won the championship last year and not the Lynx. There are some other reasons as well. Some good, some not so good. We're not getting into that. But Kayla Thornton's a hell of a defender, and just showed like that Caitlin was 0 for 7 from 3 in that game. And so if it comes down to if Caitlin's hitting threes or not, that's not really the coin flip you want to go with. But if the Lynx are healthy going into that game, there's 7, 8, 9 different things they can throw at you on offense that I don't know how the Fever prepare for. And when the Lynx had Fee in games against the Fever last year, they D'd up pretty well and won pretty much, each individual matchup. So I think the Lynx got to be favored in this one. It would be the first time a team defends the Commissioner's Cup title, which would be cool. We keep trying to make in-season tournaments a thing in this country, and I hope that takes at some point. As I've said, this is a thing everywhere in the world. Google FA Cup in England, and you will see how important that is, and we're just kind of catching up. But it's a competition. Players want to win, even if there's not money on the line, but there is. So I think it'll be a great game. And whether the Fever win or lose, I don't necessarily think it's a WNBA Finals preview, but it's a dangerous one. Like, I think the Lynx do need to be careful with this and need to play their game, and we'll see what the crowd is like. It was not it tipped in the Lynx's favor either time when Indiana came here last year. So hopefully Lynx fans can make that noise and make it happen. It's probably going to be pretty tempting to sell those tickets 5 times the face value, but
if you're getting a month's rent for those tickets or a mortgage payment, I would say you probably sell those tickets. But I think the Lynx, they're very good at saying all of the right things about like, we don't, they don't read into the national things. I tried to get some quotes on like, how bad would you guys like to see the Liberty before July if it works out that way? And they were like, but like, you can tell if it was a home game against Indiana and it was 70% Fever fans there, I think that would actually work to the Lynx favor, because they're just going to be pissed.
Yeah.
Like, Cheryl's going to be mad. Everyone's going to be mad. And usually when this team gets mad, like, pissed off Kayla McBride is a top 5 WNBA player. Like, I don't know. I mean, she goes into this different mode where all of a sudden her defense ratchets up 5 more levels. Fee, we don't see angry very often, but I think she would be a little slighted if only Indiana fans were in the crowd. I don't think it would necessarily be like a detriment to the Lynx if a lot of Fever fans showed up. I think it would be more of a detriment to like the 30% of the Lynx fans that are there that are just kind of like, I ride or die with this team, and why are there
just
so many
annoyed
people from Indiana?
All these people from Iowa who could have been driving up to witness a dynasty for years, and welcome to Minneapolis. Glad we're here. Glad you're here. Whatever. I don't get it. But anyway, it's definitely, I think the league is very happy. The league is going to make as much money as it possibly could off of the Commissioner's Cup final. So congratulations to you, Kathy Engelbert. If you're there, I would avoid any kind of fashion adorned with the Indianapolis skyline, especially if you're in Minneapolis. I would even say don't rep the Minneapolis skyline too. I think that would be unprofessional and unfair, but that's just one guy's opinion.
Also, like maybe check to see where the ticket sales are coming first. If it is like an 80% Lynx fan, maybe just don't come, because you're gonna get booed exceptionally loud, and it's probably not going to be like a fun walk in the Skyway for you. Like I would maybe check to see the residency of the ticket sales.
I'm sure Kathy Engelbert is just casually walking through the Skyway like you and I would go to Potbelly. I'm sure. She has to come, right? There's no way it's the Commissioner's Cup. The commissioner can't not be there.
It would be cinema if she ducked it, though, and she was like, I have something to do in Toronto.
Man, she has to go, and I fully expect she'll be there. But now you have me thinking about scenarios. Anyway, we'll find out on July 1st.
July 1st, I'll be there.
For sure. All right, Andrew, thank you for your time as always, my friend. I will see you in like an hour and a half.
Hey, looking forward to it, and we'll talk more probably WNBA in an hour and a half. That's pretty much all we do. So thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure.
For sure. As the tradition of this too, there'll probably be some breaking trade happening in the next 60 minutes before that happens. So, but I'll see you at the facility, and yeah, man, have a great one. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Terry. Take care.
Thank you once again to Andrew Dukowitz of Zone Coverage for joining me on today's show. That is Andrew Dukowitz. You can follow him across platforms at @ADukeMN. Thank you to Nate Pence and the team at Pence Home for sponsoring this episode. As always, thank you to Mitchell Hansen and the Hitting the Hardwood Podcast Network. And of course, thank you, dear listener, for tuning in to this episode of Lynx Happy Hour. The podcast for Lynx basketball is always on special. I will see you next week and on time, I promise. And see you at Target Center tomorrow. Thanks as always, Lynx fan. Have a great weekend, everybody. Peace.